Hello students, my name is Amir Nasir and this is a part of your technical training session, and in this session we are going to cover two important machines which are very important for your technical training. One is DC machine and another is induction machine. In this session we are going to cover the most important parts of these two topics. So let us begin with the DC machine. As we all know, there are two types of motors: DC motors and AC motors. And in DC motors, we have brushless and brushed. In brushless, we are not using any brush or slip rings. In brushed, we are using brushes and slip rings. And on the basis of construction of DC machine, we have series, shunt, compound, and permanent magnet. As the name suggests, the permanent magnet machine uses a permanent magnet. It does not have any field winding. And in these three types of DC machines, we are using a field winding, and the way we which connect the field winding with the armature winding decides the type of motor. For example, series, shunt, and the combination of series and shunt is compound. On the other hand, we have AC motors. There are mainly two types: synchronous and induction. Induction is also known as asynchronous, and asynchronous is of two types: single and three phase. So what is an electric machine? Can be described as a machine which converts electrical energy to mechanical energy, or vice versa. So electrical machine can be of two types: generator, which converts mechanical input to electrical output, and motor, which converts electrical input to mechanical output. Now this electrical machine, whether it is electric motor or electric generator, both works on the principle of electromechanical energy conversion, which can be shown by this diagram. This is an ideal electrical machine. So if we are feeding it on the basis of electrical system, that means we are providing it voltage and current on the input side, then it is providing us mechanical output on the mechanical side, and on the mechanical side we are getting angular velocity and torque. So this would be the energy flow from electrical system to mechanical system, or from mechanical system to electrical system. And so to relate this, we have this equation: Vi means voltage current equals to T omega, torque and angular velocity. So if it is an ideal electric machine, then electrical power will be equal to mechanical power. So now let us see the application of DC motors. So DC motor used in robotics. So in robotics we need to have a very fine control of speed, which is only possible by DC motor. So like, we have a robotic hand, we have a robotic spider, we have drone, we have operation system with the help of robots. So in all these spaces we need to have a very fine control of speed. So we can get a very fine control of speed with the help of a DC motor. DC generator is very rarely used. It can be used in cars to generate the electricity to use in the car itself. It can be used in train coaches, where the generator is connected by the axle of the coach, and it is driven by the axle. When the train runs, it runs the generator, and the electricity is being generated, which is used by the passengers. And apart from this, the DC generator is not used very much, but the usage of DC motors is on a very large scale. So there are now here we are using large DC motors in machine tools, in printing press, in fans, pumps, cranes, and especially in traction Now some examples of small DC motors. Small DC motors are also very widely used in toys, in controlling devices, in solar panel controlling devices, in drones, and for example, DC motors are also used in mobiles also for vibration purpose. And there is a very important quality of a DC motor which makes it very special, is that if we see a graph between torque and speed for a DC motor, then we can see that the graph is almost constant between torque and speed at a standstill condition and at high and at rated speeds. The rated torque is almost constant, but in the case of induction motor, at the standstill the torque is lesser, and with the increase in speed the torque also increases. And it is not very easy to control the maintain the relation between speed and torque in an induction motor. So that is why we use the DC motor for traction purposes. Now here are some advantages and disadvantages of DC motor. For example, high starting torque. This advantage is very important because of its high starting torque. The DC motor is used as a traction motor because we need to move a very large body, so we need to have a very high starting torque to overcome the inertia of rest. That's why this advantage is very useful for traction purpose. Rapid acceleration and deceleration, we can suddenly accelerate and instantly decelerate the DC motor. Speed control is very easy as compared to AC machines, and speed can be easily controlled over wide speed ranges. Used in tough jobs like traction motors, electric trains, electric cars, built in wide range of sizes. As we have seen, we have large DC motors also and very small DC motors also. Now here are some disadvantages. Need regular maintenance, brushes plus commutator. As we know that DC motors and generators uses brushes and slip rings, so time to time we need to do the maintenance of the machine. And as we know, we are using slip ring and brush, so there is a chance of sparking, so we cannot use in explosive areas. High cost because of their complex armature construction. The armature of a DC machine is very complex in nature as compared to induction motor, so the cost increases. Now let us discuss the construction of DC machines. And let me clear one thing. The DC machine can be used as a motor as well as a generator. So the construction of a DC motor and the construction of a DC generator is not different. It is same. A same machine can be used as a generator and a motor. So if we are talking about the construction of DC machine, it covers both motor and generator. So this is a cut section view of a DC machine. This is the frame, which is also called as yoke. It provides the support and protection for the DC machine, and it also acts as a path for magnetic flux. This is the shaft on which the moving parts of the machine are connected or mounted. This is the armature. This is the armature part, and these are the pole core and field windings. Pole core supports the field winding, and this is the brush assembly. And this is the commutator. The commutator has all the connections from the armature which comes and end on this commutator segments, and these commutator segments are in contact with the brushes. Now main parts of DC machine, mainly two parts: stator, stationary part; rotor, rotating parts. Now in detail, if we talk about yoke or frame, which acts as a cover, it carries the magnetic flux. It is made up of cast iron. If we want to increase the efficiency of the machine, we can use a better material instead of cast iron. So, but the cost also increases. But mostly cast iron is used, which is okay. Pole core, it is used to carry coils of field winding. It is mounted on yoke. So to make it simple, the pole core plus field winding plus yoke combinedly becomes stator. So stator is not just one thing. Stator, we can in stator, it is made up of yoke, field winding, pole core. All these three things at once can be called as stator. Third is armature. It is the rotating part, consist of coils which are interconnected to form a armature winding, and this armature winding is mounted on armature core. So the armature is also not just one thing. Armature consists of winding and core. Commutator, it is a rotating switch, or we can say a mechanical rectifier. It is made up of copper segments. Brush, to collect current from commutator and supply to external circuit. In motor, given current give current to commutator. In generator, collect from commutator. So as we know, if it is a motor, then we will give current with the help of commutator, and if it's a generator, we will collect the current with the help of commutator to the external circuit. This is also a simple two-dimensional diagram of a DC machine, which is showing the parts of the DC machine. This is the armature core. This is the shaft on which the armature core is mounted. We have shown with the help of these dots the armature winding. This is the pole face. This is the pole core. On the pole core, we have a field coil, and this is outer yoke or frame. Now let us see the construction of armature. This is how armature looks like. This complete thing is armature. It consists of armature core and armature windings. Now we'll talk about armature lamination. It is made up of sheet steel laminations because it reduces eddy current loss and hysteresis loss. You must be knowing about eddy current and hysteresis losses, which are iron losses which occurs in all the machines, all the electrical machines. So to reduce it, we can use the laminated armature. It also the work of this armature is to hold the armature winding. It creates a low reluctance path. So you can see this is an armature core. It has small these gaps. These gaps are used to put armature winding inside it. As you can see here, these small spaces are called slots, and these things, these projected type things, are called teeth, and inside these slots we put armature coils, and we put a wedge on it because when the machine rotates, so because of centrifugal forces, sometimes the winding gets moves out of its place. So to keep the armature winding in its place, we use wedges to stop the armature winding from coming outside. And when the machine runs, the heat is also produced. So to keep the machine cooled, we provide cooling ducts for air circulation. So here we provide ducts for cooling. because heat is generated, heat can burn the insulation, and if the insulation is burned, whole machine will be burned down, and it can burn the whole winding also. So there is a fan is also provided, which is attached on the same shaft. So you can see the construction, how the armature winding is being done with the help of this picture. Between each slots there is a thin line insulation. This is the bottom coil side and this is the top coil sides, and you can see the wedges are kept to hold the armature winding, and these are the commutator segments, and you can see the windings are connected on the commutator segments. So these are the end coil weldings. The endings of the armature coils are welded over here on the commutator. So the more number of coils we have in the armature winding, the more number of commutator segments we need to have. So if suppose there is only one coil, so there will be only one there will be only one commutator segment. So if we have many armature coils, we need to have many number of commutator segments, like shown in this picture here. These all are small segments of commutator. So this is a clear picture of a commutator. This is a commutator and it has many segments which are connected with the armature coils. So we can see here, if the connection is not proper, then sparking can occur, which is also called as arcing. So what is the purpose of this brush? It is to establish electrical connection between rotating commutator and stationary electrical circuit. So you can see the picture of the brush, how the brushes are positioned, and it is connected through wire. We can see two wires which are connected to the external circuit, and the purpose of these brushes is to collect the current from the commutator. Now this is the construction of armature winding. So we start with one single turn. This is one single turn. It has two conductors. This is the end connection. This is the diagrammatic representation of a coil. So coil or winding. So we start with one turn. We have many turns. We interconnect many turns, so we get one coil. And if we connect many coils with each other, it becomes a winding. So a winding is always started with one turn becomes coil, and the coils become winding. So now we will discuss the induction machines, which are also known as asynchronous machines. So you must be knowing that why they are called in asynchronous machines, because these are the machines which does not run on synchronous machines. And you must be knowing about this concept of synchronous speed. The rotating magnetic field generated in a three-phase machine, the speed of that rotating field is called synchronous speed, and the machines which run on that speed are called synchronous machines, and the machines which does not run on synchronous speeds are called asynchronous machines or induction machines. So we'll discuss the facts about induction motors, applications, construction, and operation principle. So here we'll start with the facts about AC machines. So we have electrical machines which can be classified into rotating and static. So in rotating we have DC, AC, and in DC we in AC we have asynchronous and synchronous, and in static machines we only have mainly we have one kind of machine, which is transformer. So Tesla's AC induction motor is one of the 10 greatest discoveries of all time. That, as we know, Nikola Tesla, he invented AC induction motor, which changed the world. The AC induction motor is almost used everywhere in households, in industries, and this is the machine which led to another more important discoveries. So this invention is considered to be one of the most greatest discoveries which changed the world. This picture tells us that the total electrical energy generated is mostly used in industrial sectors as compared to household sector, and in that industrial sector also the bigger proportion of that energy is consumed by electrical motors, and in electrical motors also the large number of electrical energy is used by induction motors. So why induction motors are very popular? Because they are very rugged construction. They have a very simple and rugged construction, very easy to maintain and reliable, plus low maintenance because there are no brushes and slip rings being used. Relatively inexpensive means it is less expensive as compared to DC machine, and high power to density ratio. High power to density ratio means uh, a small a small induction motor can generate large number of power as compared to any other motor. So applications, as we all know, single phase induction motors are used in households, in like juicers, mixers, ACs, dryers, fans, washing machines, vacuum cleaners, fridges. So and as you all know, these devices are found in almost every house. There are These are the applications of three phase induction motors in elevators, escalators, in industrial purposes. These are other applications of induction motors. Now we will talk about the construction of induction motor. This is the stator winding. As we all know, it also have a stator and rotor, and here we need to have a stator winding, which is, if it is a three phase machine, then the stator winding will be a three phase stator winding. This is the rotor, this is the shaft, this is the outer frame, which is also called yoke. This is the nameplate consists of important informations related to the machine. For example, this is a nameplate of a particular motor which shows its type, its kilowatt rating, its insulation, is temperature rise, and etc. Other important information. Now we'll see the induction machine types. So there are mainly two types of induction motors. One is squirrel cage rotor type and another is wound rotor type. As you can see, we have two types of induction machines, and the type depends on the rotor construction. In the next slide we will see that a rotor, we can have two types of rotor, and on the basis of these two rotors we can have these two types of machine. A squirrel cage have a different type of rotor. Wound induction machine have a different type of induction motor. So on the basis of construction of rotor, we have two different types of induction motors. So first one is a squirrel cage type. A squirrel cage type is a very simple type of induction motor. We have a stator winding, which is a three-phase stator winding, and we have a three-phase rotor winding, and nothing else. And on the other hand, we have a wound rotor type, which is also known as slip ring type. We have a three-phase stator winding, just like squirrel cage winding, just like squirrel cage motor. And here also we have a rotor winding, but the different thing here is that we have connected external resistance to this rotor winding with the help of slip ring and brushes. These are the variable external resistors. Now why we are using these external resistors? Because as you can see here in this squirrel cage type, we cannot control the current of this rotor winding, so we cannot control the speed from the rotor side because we cannot control the current here. But here if we connect slip ring with the help of external resistance, we can control the rotor current, so we can control the speed. So this is the basic difference between a squirrel cage and wound rotor type induction motor. Now we'll see the some more construction. As you can see, this is the stator, which has inside slots, coil placement inside slots of a laminated core. So these slots which acts as a seat for the winding. So when the stator winding is completed, it looks like this. This is the construction and a schematic diagram of a induction motor. We can have a star type or a delta type winding. So when this winding is completed, it is submerged in polyester based varnish because it makes them more moisture resistant and increase their electrical insulation. And one more advantage is that this when the winding is completed, it is heated inside the oven for many hours because it makes the stator winding mechanically more rugged, which means strong. This is the rotor construction. This is the squirrel cage type induction motor. As you can see, the rotor here looks like a cage, that's why it is called a squirrel cage induction motor. Now this is the slip ring or wound rotor type rotor. As you can see here, there is no cage over here. It is a it is in the form of wound. It is wounded in the form of winding. The rotor here, it is in the form of winding, and on the other hand, here you can see the rotor is not in the form of winding, but here the rotor is in the form of winding, and it is connected to brushes. So this is the example of wound rotor type induction motor. Now we have come to the principle of operation of induction motor. So as you know, whenever a current carrying conductor is placed inside a magnetic field, it experiences a force. So we use this principle for the operation of induction motor. The induction motor has many conductors, and when we allow the current to flow through these conductors, a magnetic field is produced which interacts with the another magnetic field, and the conductors experience force and the motor starts rotating, and the direction of force can be determined by a left hand rule. So this was the principle of operation of induction motor, which is described by force acting on a current carrying conductor placed inside a magnetic field. So this was the end of this session. we discussed about the induction motor, its application, its construction, and principle of operation. So this was the end of the lecture. We are ending here. Thank you.